Welcome to Drinks Coach. It's been a while since I did anything that wasn't winey. Well, you know, food, summer. But these samples stack up and one goes in there, one goes to a friend, one goes in the bin. But some of them don't. Some of them stay waiting for their moment of glory on the Drinks Coach UK. Now do hit the bell to subscribe. If you look up there, it says at Vinesack and at Drinks Coach UK. Either will do. That'll get you through my social media. I tend to use Vinesack more than Drinks Coach, which is probably counterproductive, I think. Yeah, go on Instagram. You'll see what I'm up to on a daily basis. You'll see the shows you may have missed, etc. So I've done. This is a big gin roundup, and Emma and I discussed whether I would do some cocktails, which I think is a big opportunity missed. I want to show people how to stir down a drink properly. There's some techniques which I could show you, but I think maybe that's just for a separate show. And there's also experts out there on YouTube that are way better than I am, which I could probably point you to, because some of them aren't experts as well. So yeah, but you know, if you want to see the simple way of doing it in a dodgy flat in Battersea, then maybe you do want to stay tuned and see my techniques, my expert skills. So we have a few gins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in fact. 2 you may have seen before. But I'm showing them again because they weren't in a gin special, and I think I didn't give them the thrift that they deserved. This one, I don't think it's ever been on a show. If it was a long time gone, like my first ever show. I don't think I've shown this, but this may be familiar to some people. It's a tiny gin brand, but they started sort of slowly trickling into the UK market in about 2017, which in the Yukon gold rush of craft super gins in this country makes it quite an old timer, really. This is pink peppercorn gin from a company called Audemus. Audemus means, depending on whether you're using the vocative or not, let's dare in Latin, or we dare, as in first person plural, first person plural in Latin. Straight, I got a U in Latin, but I refer to my Latin schooling almost on a daily basis. Something quite wrong about that. But this is something that exploded onto the scene. It's made by an Australian with basically a lab kit in a house in Cognac. The other guy involved in creating the brand is an Essex guy who made his money selling soup to French people in Cognac market. So this is a gin. And on the back it says made in Cognac. I think, oh, there must be a story there. Made in France. Oh, interesting. French gin. There's 1 or 2 very good French gins. Coming on to one in a minute. This sounds interesting. Anyway, last night I met Pip Johnson, who's the sort of like global brand ambassador, for want of a better word, but she's very heavily involved in the promotion and development of the product. And charming she is too. And shout out to you, Pip. And to and good luck to her and Hamish in their soon venture of maybe opening a cocktail bar in Windsor. God knows Windsor needs it. So this is a drink that was made by an Australian guy called Nico, who grew up in a family full of distillers, and even from a very, very young age was fascinated by rotovaps and extracting tinctures and flavours from different things. And that knowledge and skill, that artistic flair, followed him everywhere he went. And he's huge, kind of like, likes to go walk about on his cycle, which I believe he's doing right now from thousands of miles around France. Don't blame him. But this is a drink that kind of exploded onto the scene, and it's made almost entirely from juniper and pink peppercorn distillates and very little else. There's no coriander seed, there's no orris root, there's no but there's things like vanilla in it. And it is one of the finest gins on the market. If you're going to have a list, if I have a list of 20 gins I want in the cabinet, or 10, that will really invigorate my entertainment capacity in terms of making cocktails for people, or if I go to a cocktail bar and I want to drink something with a bit of a pick-me-up and go, you can do a lot worse than asking, have you got Audemus pink pepper gin? I'd love you to make a gin and tonic for me. It's just spectacular. Okay, so this is 44% alcohol. As I said before, it's made in basically Erlenmeyer flasks and rotovaps and stuff in a front room in Cognac. Nico moved there to learn everything he could from the different cognac houses and talk to smaller people, and of course probably discovered, as many people have, that Cognac's kind of like a one-horse town. It's like there's Hennessy and people that agree with what Hennessy does, and the others. And you may also recall, if you've been watching my shows loyally, that when I talk about the brand P. Ferrand, which is a cognac brand who own Plantation Rum, yes, which comes up every now and then, also own this, which is Citadel Gin. Alexandre Gabriel's one of the few people that's holding back the tide of commercialism and giant corporate cognac bullshit. If I was going to put it in any less finer terms, it wouldn't be fair. So here we've got a gin which it's really very hard to describe how pretty and how joyous this drink is. It's obviously very clear. If you don't know what pink peppercorns smell like, and that's plausible, buy some, because just smelling pink peppercorns for me on a daily basis cheers me up. It's not, black peppercorns can be amazing. You get some really amazing like special picked Indian or Thai peppercorns, maybe Telecherry peppercorn or something, or Kashmiri peppercorn. They're so fragrant and wonderful. There's not just spice and pepper. There's florals. There's incredible aromas, which aren't dissimilar, I guess, to juniper. Juniper's an oily, perfumed, and if fresh, coming on to that in a minute, and they're not completely dried out, and you get juniper and they've still got some biomass and some water left in them. They have this incredible live citrus fragrance to them. So I can see why Nico kind of mixed the two. This is a niche product, granted, but if you like pink peppercorns, then you've got to have it in your life. Makes amazing drinks. But if you want to make a martini, and Nico, I kind of agree with how you taste it. Nico makes a drink which I don't think is going to be around forever. I think you can buy it online, but it's called Pink Peppercorn Dry, and it's a proper juniper-driven dry gin with pink peppercorn as a note, rather than just straight up, because the distiller himself doesn't really like making this into a martini. He thinks it's far better purposed elsewhere. I've cured salmon with this. I mean, overnight, to make like kind of like a gravlax for guests coming in the evening. Instant gravlax. It's incredible. It's fantastic with food. I don't want to waste any of that. That's just so delicious. Anyway, you're looking at about, I can't remember, I think it's about the £40 mark. But that goes a long way. I've said enough, I think, but Pip, well done. Nico, Ian, and everyone who's involved in the brand. Wowee, and thank you so much for such a beautifully thought out and authentic, uncynical night that we had with you last night at the Rosewood Hotel. So, thank you very much for reminding me about it. And look, this is, I think most of these drinks are made by friends of mine, so it's quite hard to pick one out of the other. I'll tell you which ones aren't friends. So if they aren't friends and they're here and they're good, then they have to be doubly good, don't they, really? But this is Citadel Gin. I've talked about Citadel Gin before. Citadel is one of my go-to gins. It's one of the gins that, if I run out of it, I feel a little bit kind of discombobulated. It's full strength. It's 41.5%. And they brought out this one for summer. Jardin d'été, Garden of Summer. Well, guess what? It goes rather well mixed with Jardin Liqueur, Reverend Hubert, okay? It's just, they match made in heaven because they've got a similar sensibility. When I tell you just some of the botanicals that are in this drink, there's 22 infusions in here. Sichuan pepper, coriander, cardamom, orange peel, melon flesh, whole lemon, fennel, cumin, star anise, violets, iris, angelica, almonds, and the list goes on. And it provides a wonderful... by calling it Jardin d'été, I'm not an idiot. I know that presupposes and predisposes that you're in the mindset that it's going to be a summery drink. But it's cleverer than that. I mean, you can make a drink just smell of summer, right? Elderflower and all the other obvious things, but then it becomes very unversatile. This drink has fantastic scopic layering. When you smell it, there's a depth, and you can almost see the different smells down the well in your mind. You can smell where the citrus is. You can smell where the oily fruits are. You can smell where the spice is. You can smell where the warmer floral notes come from. And it's a very, very sophisticated drink. I don't know how long it took Alexandra and his master blender to come up with this, but Alexandra, you've fucking done it again. Citadel Jardin d'Ete, stunning gin, sub £30, absolutely bloody brilliant. What can I say? Packaging is sex on legs too. There we go. What is it about blue? Blue was out of fashion for so long. It looks very nice now. Okay, so I'm just going to give that a little sip. Beautiful, almost yuzu in there maybe? Yuzu and, it's not bergamot, but wonderful smooth citrus around the back, which is, I can tell there's a supporting cast that makes that happen. Wonderful. In fact, drinking like that on ice, that and soda is all you need to make that into a great drink. And it's not premium price. It's high there, but it's not some drinks here that cost quite a lot of money. So, we've done Audemus Pink Peppercorn Gin. We've done Citadel Jardin d'Ete. Moving on, Arthur Miller and I used to work for the largest wine brand in the world at the time. I came in as a consultant with my PR company to do their trade and then ultimately consumer PR. But he was the European sort of everything director, marketing director for Ernest and Giulio Gallo, which, like it or loathe them, is one of the most successful drinks businesses of all time. And Arthur was the guy that I spoke. He was the human face, along with a lovely lady called Mairead Quinn, who we interfaced with in order to get things done at Gallo. And I think, when with recessions and everything else and credit crunch, the company completely changed structure. He found the opportunity to go and do something that I think he's always wanted to do. And he went off to the flipping Scilly Isles. I don't know if you noticed this bottle. I think a long time ago I showed you the green bottle, which is the equivalent. But this is a mimic of the rock and the lighthouse of the Scilly Isles. And it's called Island Gin. Simple as that. The green one, I think, is called Scilly Spirit, if I remember it, but beautifully crafted on the Isles of Scilly. Very importantly, if I just bring the number up to the lens, you'll see that says 57% by volume. This, ladies and gentlemen, is their overproof elephant gun gin. Their regular gin's not for the faint-hearted. When I heard that he was doing an overproof gin, you can probably tell by how much I've used with my wife, that I was getting very excited. In homage, Art, to your wonderful gin, I'm going to put it into a Glencairn glass, because this is the kind of gin that needs a whiskey glass. Okay. I love his packaging. I haven't managed to throw a single bottle of his away. I think I've got 4 of these. I've got 3 green ones and 1 blue one now. I can't throw them away. I fill them with, bar salts, put oil in them. They're great. In fact, I use one of them to make my schnitzels. I'm not joking. It's hard enough. I bash out my schnitzel with this. It's like a mallet hammer. It's fantastic. It's the most versatile packaging I have ever seen. And in fact, he won an award from Drinks Business for said packaging. Now, he does like his gin to taste like gin. And the green gin, the Scilly Spirit, was very, very pepper-driven, I think, black pepper. Lots and lots of juniper. This is like... It's like somebody's put nitrous oxide. This is Fast and Furious meets Scilly Isles gin. Just to remind you what Navy strength means, because 57% alcohol seems kind of specific, doesn't it? I think it's like 56 and a third. But Navy strength meant that you weren't allowed to have any drinks on board a ship in the Navy. And this is one of the reasons why their rum was so strong. Because if you had a cannon fight and the cannon shell went through a vat of gin and the gin then spilled everywhere, it would spill into the gunpowder and the gunpowder wouldn't light. Now, if your gin or your rum is 15% by mass alcohol or more, which is English 100 proof, then it would still ignite. So you can pour this gin into gunpowder and it still goes off in a cannon. So you didn't sit like a dead duck in a fight. So Navy strength means strong enough to put on a ship and not compromise the risk of the sailors in a fight, which is something a lot of people don't know. And I thought for years, with Navy strength, does that mean because it's more concentrated, it took up less space? Because when they took their daily grog of lime and rum, it was watered down because it was phenomenally strong. But they were allowed like a quarter of a pint a day. No wonder they were shit-faced all the time. Anyway, so... almost see flames coming out, but not in a bad way. Beautiful kind of character. I don't know what it is. Maybe Art can tell me, but it tastes like vetiver. Vetiver is a very fragrant moss. Cary Grant's favourite aftershave was vetiver by Guerlain. Tom Ford has recently kind of like re-engineered and improved said fragrance to be called grey vetiver, and his is £185 a bottle or something. But it's the most incredible smell of green moss and musk, and there is this green moss in here which I think is absolutely divine. Be amazing in a soap or something. There's a very clear smell of peppercorn. I think there's a smell of juniper, which is if you think the very special juniper from Simpsons, if you like something with real juniper power, then this is really kind of as kind of full strength as you're going to go, and still have a balanced, together, satisfying spirit. When you add water to this, it only grows in flavour and volume. It's a bit like a cask strength whiskey. If you drink it at this strength, you probably consider to be mad, but you don't need much of this. It's too strong, I think, for a martini, but it'd be amazing as a top note in a punch. Or if you just have it Navy strength like this, the way that the extraction occurs, and have it with good old-fashioned Schweppes, this makes the most satisfyingly robust gin and tonic that I've had in a long, long time. Anyway, they got a silver at the International Wine and Spirit Competition, and I think they were robbed. I think this gin is almost worthy of a gold, certainly. Okay, so there we are. Ordemus Pink Peppercorn Gin, Jardin d'Été from Citadelle, and then we have the Scilly Iron Spirit. Now, Danny Cameron. Danny, I stood outside his distillery, or his and his brother's Pete's distillery the other day. You've seen this before. You know my favourite gin. If you look at finest gins in the universe, there was a Kino B gin from Japan. There was a Cotswolds gin, and the other gin which I think pound for pound is the finest gin in the world, and they have honoured me by putting that quote outside the distillery, so I'm honoured, chaps, but I stick by it. Is this fella, this fucker here, is Pollination Gin, which is made from things that are picked in spring, amazing botanicals, bog myrtle and all sorts of wonderful things, but I don't think you can get a more precise and more better made gin than that anywhere in the known universe. That 1 cube of ice in a glass like that, and I can ruminate for hours. This is the latest homologation. This is the latest upgrade. Okay, it's called Navigation Gin. It has the most extraordinary mental botanical mix, but I do believe that one of the botanicals, which is one of the reasons why it's called Navigation Gin, there are a couple of reasons, is dulse, which is an edible seaweed. It's the same thing that they make lava bread out of. I think dulse is lava bread. Danny, you could correct me on that, but it's one of the edible ones. And if you like that sort of thing, it's pure umami. It's where the name umami comes from. It's where Japanese plant sea kelp in the water, giant sea kelp, and harvest it. And umami is technically just monosodium glutamate. Now, Danny and I were saying, how, if you're making a brew of seaweed and local mosses and local marine botanicals, how, when it's distilled, does what is basically an ionic solid crystal end up in the drink? How? Well, it doesn't. But the drink at the end remains unbelievably umami and mouth-watering. It makes that gap between the top gum and your lip milk up and drool. You can feel your mouth watering when you drink it, and you're thinking, I would love to try this in all sorts of other umami flavours. It's amazing with anything with parmesan in it. It's amazing with other things. But the one thing that umami gins make you feel, and by the way, these guys at Ordemus are doing a lot. They have a gin called Umami Gin. They make amazing red snappers. If there's one thing that's got more umami than virtually anything else, it's a fat tomato. So if you're making a red snapper, which is a gin Bloody Mary, use either their umami gin or, sorry Pip at the moment, this mental gin. So this gin is made from all sorts of unusual botanicals, and they're mostly from the sea or from the foraging line, hence Navigation Gin, but also it's Navy strength. It's 57%. Lunatics these people are. Okay, I need a pure glass for this. I'm going to use a proper eau-de-vie tasting glass this time. Respect where respect is due. I'm afraid pay peanuts, get monkeys. If you're going to pop onto your, I don't know if it's on, was it Whisky Society or Master of Malt? It could be on either or both. I think you're looking at £45 for a half litre. But I did say, didn't I, that I thought this was the greatest gin in the world. Words don't easily come because it's so incredibly complex. I will do, Pip, your umami gin at some point, but I have the similar thing, which is actually made from compressed parmesan and other umami type things. But it has a deep, deep, profound smell of almost sort of slightly mushroom, sorghum characters. You can smell the kind of vegetal, almost that gelatoid kind of texture of edible seaweed. There's a wonderful green note. There's some warm spice notes. There are more classic gin notes in there. It's still a gin, you can tell that. Then the whole thing's rested in a Madeira butt, in a Madeira barrel. And it's not until you put the wine in your mouth you feel this sense of ease, this sense of affinage, of softness, of conditioning. It doesn't have the vigour of something that came out of stainless steel. It's had a chance to breathe in and breathe out. And it has this wonderful saline, Surshal Madeira kind of salty, sweety. It's just it's being pulled in all sorts of directions. But all I can say is this show is pretty much done because I got given this by Danny and Peter as a gift. And having tasted it, I thought it deserved a show in its own right, which is kind of not fair to the others. So with other great gins to show, I feel that it's done it justice. But well done. Another emotionally spectacularly good gin. Wow, okay. Before I become a complete arsehead. Right, next on, we've got two more left. This was mentioned in a cocktail show recently. Gonna do it again though. Ivan Dixon and your chums in Kenya. This is called Procera Gin. This gin is pot stilled in Kenya. They're trying to get a rating like a Grand Cru for the local forest because there's African or even Kenyan juniper in the forest and they pick them fresh. They're not dried and then reconstituted, they use fresh juniper. This is made from a beautiful piece of old bamboo with a piece of natural cork, hand blown, leather straps, everything here comes and goes. The packaging is incredible. This is the Blue Spot. This is their everyday gin. Their everyday gin costs about £70 for half a litre. This is the most expensive gin I've ever tasted. It's 51% alcohol. It's really good. Ivan, to you, sir. Amazing. Anybody, I mean, you've heard my stories about South Africa and how much I love the parts of Africa that I've been introduced to. But Rainbow Nation, everything is larger than life. Everything tastes bigger, more powerful, more intense. And when you put your honk in the glass, it just smells technicoloured, like somebody's just inflated a great gin and made it bigger. The distillate is exquisite. It's as good as Dovey Valley, Kino B, Cotswold, you know, the real distiller experts in this country. I know, I think that's a real treat. There's people out there that are always looking for a bottle of gin for their husband or brother or sister or friend or partner or gin collector in general, and they're always saying, you know, buy me a gin if you want to buy me a present. This is the last word in gifts. Trust me. It looks beautiful. It smells beautiful. It comes with a little thing full of something. Maybe you can smoke it. I don't know. But there you go. That's Procera Gin. Blue Spot. They make two special limited editions. There's a green spot and a red spot as well, which is made from chilies and things, which is amazing in a Bloody Mary. But this gin is too delicious and too spectacularly expensive to drink, I think, with anything other than a tiny cube of ice in it. But wow. Okay. Finally, Kate Sargentson. Sarge, are you listening? Somebody I've spent many years enjoying the friendship with, although I think since she got married, I haven't seen her very much. But Kate Sargentson is one of the great PR gurus in the drinks industry in this country. And out of nowhere, we reconnected. I can't remember why. I think she was talking about her wife and some. I think they'd been on holiday or something. I went, "Oh, how so nice to hear from you both." And she said, "Can I send you some stuff?" And I said, "Yeah, of course you can." And it's this: Colwith Farm Avildor Cornish gin. Now I'm finishing on this for a reason, because it's good. They make a brilliant vodka. Sorry, drunk quite a lot of it. I can't even bring myself to make that into a martini. I drink just ice cold out of the freezer. But that stuff is the closest thing I've had to this stuff. By the way, this stuff on your left-hand side is my go-to sine qua non reference gin. This is Goldline Beluga. It has this incredible metal label. It's about £170 a bottle for a bottle of gin, for a bottle of vodka. I'm not kidding. And it's a wheat vodka. It's incredible stuff. This, I think, if I saw it, is sub £40. It's plough to distillery to bottle to customer. They do everything themselves. It's from Cornwall. Both of these are. Colwith Farm. It's a potato gin. Okay, we've talked about Chase, another great flag bearer of what we can do in terms of distillates in this country. It's hard to describe the texture of this drink. Is that water? Yeah, that's water. Okay. Colwith Farm. So the gin, I think, is over 40 quid. So I thought, well, out of the door, £42 is brave. It's a very beautifully made bottle. It's got a little green label. It says Try Gin there. Avildor. It's a very Cornish name, isn't it? But it's made from distilled potatoes, which isn't... So people say to me, "Oh, well, it's taking the mick because potatoes are really cheap. And isn't it just a profit-making exercise?" It's almost exactly the opposite of what you think it is. As I heard from James Chase, if you want to make 1 litre of premium distillate, it takes about 250 kilos of potatoes. It takes a ton of King Edwards to make 4 litres of undiluted distillate. So to make, in real terms, a case of gin takes a ton. So it's cheap. Stick to making crisps if you don't have the balls for this business. But this is Colwith Farm Avildor. I believe it's won all sorts of trophies at the San Francisco Spirits Awards this year. This is Kate, and I hate it when you're right, is maybe one of the discoveries of the year for me. When I smell it, it has fantastic citrus, beautiful, pure juniper. The juniper, I think, if I'm a betting man, it smells Greek or Macedonian, possibly Tuscan, very fragrant, not oily. It's much more refined than that. There's lots of coriander seed. This is old school gin flavours in a very new school drink, because when you smell it, it smells like London Dry Gin. It smells like you can have a bottle of Tanqueray and it's going to catch you on the back of the neck if you're going to drink it neat. It needs to go in a gin and tonic. And then you taste it warm and neat like this. It's like Savlon. It's so smooth. It's insane. It was like it was made with cream. It's a stunning gin. And I want to say thank you to Kate for sending me the samples. And Colwith Farm, whoever you guys are, brilliant job. So there we go. Let's just recap. We started with Pip's Ordemus, brilliant pink peppercorn gin. Then Alexandra Hoyot seems to be able to walk on water. Gabrielle's gin, Jardin d'Ete. I don't know how you do it, man. It's just one brilliant thing after another. Arthur Miller, Ivan Dixon, ex-buyer from Harvey Nichols, is now looking after this guy in Kenya. Colwith Farm. There was one more, wasn't there? Yeah. Don't forget the best gin in the world. See you next time.